Hey guys, what is going on? It is me, BikiriBox12 here, and welcome back to another Realm of the Mad God Dungeon Guide video. I'm heading back into the Ice Cave today for a second round. Ever since I made my video back in January of last year, the dungeon has received quite the overhaul. While the Lord of the Lost Lands, the event god who drops the portal, exhibits the same behavior, it's the Ice Cave itself that's been so drastically changed and, much to our benefit, has become a lot more gratifying as a result. Just like before, the most defining aspect of the area here is that you're on ice. The ground is slick and slippery, there's weight to your movements now, you have momentum. If you run forward and want to backpedal, then you have to take into account the 1 or 2 seconds that it takes to cancel your own momentum and change directions. And so, like any other ice level in video games, you're gonna want to take things slow until you've mastered the control. Because it is very easy to run into a sticky situation that you simply can't get out of quickly enough. Once you have that down, everything will fall into place. The biggest and most critical change to the dungeon, though, is actually in the map. Before the update, the Ice Cave was all about clearing every enemy through these big meandering catacombs to open the inner sanctum portal. You'd wander around, backtrack, people would leech because they didn't want to clear, and it honestly got pretty tedious. There wasn't a whole lot to it, and it wasn't really that hard. It was my biggest complaint with the dungeon as a whole. Now, however, they completely flipped the script on us with 2 very simple changes that make a world of difference. First, the group is now split in half, spawning in both the top and bottom entrances. And second, the dungeon is now entirely linear with no dead ends, meaning if each group does their job right, all the enemies can be cleared in one shot without the need to backtrack. It may be kind of hard to tell without doing it for yourself, but this changes everything. The pacing is better, there's no wandering around, and it emphasizes teamwork without taking away the Ice Cave's gimmick, in this case, clearing enemies to open the boss room, who by the way have also received complete overhauls themselves. The Big Yeti, an originally harmless individual, now has 2 different snowball attacks, one that slows and the other with a grenade explosion, each dealing 200 damage. It's a pretty easy shot to see coming, but he's an actual threat now. The mini Yetis that it summons are mostly unchanged. They had their damage beefed up to 80, but like before, they're only dangerous in a group, as the armor-piercing shots can stack pretty quickly on any class. I like bringing Archer for these guys since they have pretty basic movements. The piercing, range, paralysis, and generally high damage output is just what I'm looking for. But I'd say bring whatever class you're most comfortable with. So long as you look before you leap, you should be in fine shape. The Snowbat Mama also makes a return with a new bag of tricks, an alternating single and double sonic wave causing unstable, and an occasional purple confusing star that we don't want any part of. When players get close, it'll leave its post to come chase anyone nearby. Just make sure that you leave enough room behind you to back up into, and you should be fine. I found that to be the trickiest part of the whole Ice Cave. Some of the collision around the walls and rocks can be a little misleading, so it'll look like there's room for you to move over, but then you'll just get stuck on something and won't budge. Just make it an effort to know your surroundings before heading into battle. It'll save you the stress. The regular Snowbats only drop these mines that spin in place. They will vanish over time, but you don't want too many of them in one place. The 100 damage can catch you off guard. When it comes down to it though, the Snowbats behave pretty similarly to the Yetis. Just keep out of reach, move away, and they'll come to you. Now for the newcomers. We have Iceon, a frozen scorpion enemy with a continuous 3-way crescent stream that rotates clockwise, and a 3-shot 180 attack that fans out in front of it. Now on a side note, none of these enemies are status immune, so knights feel free to stun and archers paralyze. But be wary of when it gets to half health. Like the Snowbat Mama, it'll chase any player nearby for a short burst, completely invulnerable for about a second. And with attacks this powerful, you really can't afford to get hit by that. It will stop to take a breather here and there, but know that it can strike at any moment. There is a gap on the left and right side of it while running, so melees aren't doomed, but it's still a tight fit. Lizical, or Lizical, I don't know. The Frosty Lizard is our second and final new addition to the roster. Definitely the most hypnotizing of them all in a way. There's a constant radio burst of blue orbs to be dodged, in addition to the 4 lines of 3-pronged spears that jet out and retract. My first time, these really caught me off guard. They could have easily killed me if I didn't catch on. The key here is to make slight adjustments either left or right, because the frontmost attack will always be aimed at you. When it retracts, get ready to move because that spear is coming right for you, forcing you to dodge even at longer ranges. There's also a new dungeon hazard that I haven't mentioned called Tearing Frost. It's the Ice Cave's version of lava. It damages you for 60 on contact and hurts you faster if you run through it. Just one more thing to survey when walking around. But that's really all there is to it. Just take it slow, clear the enemies, and mind your surroundings. Play this dungeon like a game of chess. Take it one move at a time and try not to rush anything. When both paths are successfully cleared, the inner sanctum portal will open at the halfway point marked by a bed of snow, and the boss battle will begin. Esben the Unwilling, the portal poor soul who we know now has been corrupted by the Void entity. His boss fight is structured pretty similar to before, but it has a lot of little changes. You still have the 4 ice barricades that protect you from Esben's attacks as long as you don't destroy them yourself. The goal has also remained the same: destroy the 8 cursed graves around the room to weaken Esben and get your damage in. In the meantime, he'll be resting in the center of the room, firing off piercing ice attacks, crescents, waves, and purple spheres. As hectic as it may appear at times, there are always gaps for you to move in between. It's merely a matter of how well you can use them. The cursed graves still have a slow-moving paralyzed shot that's easy to anticipate, and summon the Cool Range Doritos that will make you sad if you sit on them. Like before, take it slow, walk around the room, clear them out. When all 8 graves are gone, Esben will flash for a little bit, showing off his possessed form with an attack from earlier, before 8 small, creepy, weird dark spirit mirror image monsters come out with significant damage. They only move around in place though, so as long as you don't walk over top of them, it's an easy shot. Once cleared out, Esben will return to his human form to be brought down to half health before repeating the phase a second time. This time around though, before dying, he'll transform himself into a regular-sized, creepy, weird, you know the drill, and summon 8 more that move around the room clockwise. They're a little stronger, but not much more difficult, and because of their bigger sprite size, they're actually easier to hit. Although I really like the flash and color pattern they got going on. When they're all taken care of, you can finish off the one in the middle and collect your mana. Compared to what we had before, I'll say it again, this is leagues better than the first iteration of the Ice Cave. What used to be an uneventful enemy fetch quest for me has now become a streamlined, efficient stroll through a dungeon with competent, unique designs. Splitting the group in half makes it feel more like a team effort. The increased enemy variety and upscale in difficulty makes it a more interesting encounter, and the linear structure speeds up the whole process without making it feel shallow. The boss is still a little bit weak in my opinion. You gotta clear those 8 graves 2 whole times after clearing an entire dungeon, but it's still a neat concept at its core, kind of like Davy Jones in a way. And the white bags are still pretty good too. While I may have been on the fence about it in the past, I can say now that the Ice Cave is a dungeon worth your time. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, don't forget to check out the next episode whenever I post it, which will probably be soon. Alright, see ya.